Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. You're joining us today for another episode of Marc and Mitch Make a Scientology Film. Let's get Mitch in here. Hey
Hey
Mitch,
guys, hey, great to see you.
great to see you too. Today's episode, we are going to cover the next film, and the next film on our list is called TR-6, Use of a Doll in Auditing and TRs.
Right.
And in Scientology, when you are studying to become a counselor, or as what they call in Scientology, an auditor, you do this in a course room, in like an academic setting where there's other students and there's dictionaries and there's a supervisor, which is like the teacher of the class, and everybody sort of does their own thing on their own timetable, and they have what's called a check sheet. And on certain courses, you have to watch films, but you also have to do what are called drills. So you practice the counseling techniques. And the person that you practice those auditing and counseling techniques on are dolls, because if you practice those things on a real person, you'd mess the person up. Psychologically, they may get damaged. You're muted, Mitch. We don't hear you. I don't know what you did, but we didn't hear you. Sorry. He's still figuring it out. But I'm going to keep talking until he shows up with some audio. Mitch had to switch over to a different computer because his computer automatically. There he is. I hear you.
Good. I'm good. You can hear my heavy breathing.
Yeah, the panic breathing.
Yeah, it's just been an absolute shit show over here so far. Yeah, so I just want to add, Mark, that
Yes.
the dolls are like, they're not dolls. They're not like your bobblehead dolls. They're like big ass, like ventriloquist dummy dolls, like 3-foot tall teddy bears. So just really bizarre stuff.
Yeah, and you would sit one of these dolls, and they really do have these types of dolls in Scientology course rooms, but they're usually just something they could buy out of the store. So you might have like a little, like a little doll, like a little Davy doll, and you just put that. You just put that across from you on the table, and then you put the cans near their hands, and then you would talk to the doll like you would be talking to what they call in Scientology. Someone who's getting counseling is called a pre-clear, because they're not yet clear. So everybody is referred to as a pre-clear. So the doll would be your stand-in pre-clear. And then you would talk to the doll, and you would ask the doll's questions, and you would pretend like the doll's answering you and do the right. And oh, sorry, I forgot this. A lot of times a real person would be behind the doll or working with the doll, and they would answer for the doll.
Oh, yeah. And sometimes they'd even answer in the doll voice. You'd say, so is there any reason why we shouldn't have a session? And the doll would say, yeah, well, I'm feeling kind of tired, like I need a drink of water. And it would just be like, it's like role playing. I mean, Mark, it's like role playing.
100%. It's like furries and cosplay and all mixed into Scientology mumbo jumbo.
But it's indoctrination role playing. Like you can't understate. It seems like a really kind of a sweet idea, and you don't want to practice on a real person because you don't want to mess them up.
Yeah.
But doing it with a doll is like messing you up far worse.
It really is bizarre. And
yeah.
I don't think I ever did any training where I had to do that. I had to work with a doll.
Well, yeah, so, you were one of those fortunate people that got to walk out and not be that, you watched South Park. I just heard you. You watched it once and went, I'm fucking done.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm out. Peace out, guys. This is, I didn't know about the aliens, and yeah, I'm not signing up for aliens.
Yeah, some of us had a harder time with that, but we're anyway.
Okay, so that's sort of the setup for why there is such a film, use of a doll in auditing and TRs.
Yeah.
And
this is let me just add one thing.
Yeah.
This you mentioned the course room. This is called the Academy of Scientology. So it gets this very highfalutin name. It's the Academy. It's like you're in college now, right? And you're training from level 0 up to 4 to be an auditor. And this is a big deal. This is like the training logo is like a lion, and you're learning to become the beast of the jungle, the dominant. You're going to be like an alpha predator when this is done, right?
Yeah,
So
you will be a lion. And
yeah, you will be a lion.
And even in Hubbard, there's a policy letter that you read before every single Scientology course. And he says in that, we'd rather have you dead than incapable.
Yeah, that's right. No, you're right. That's right.
We'd rather have you dead than incapable. Only the tigers survive.
Yeah.
That's what he says in that policy letter. So he sort of sets it up like, oh, it's going to be rough. You're going to get beat up. And if you survive, you're going to be a better Scientologist because of it. But we're going to put you through the ringer.
Hey, Mark, I think we might have just hit on another catchphrase from Keeping Scientology Working, which everybody refers to as KSW. That's what Tom Cruise was saying when he was like, hey, man, get your KSW in. It's no namby-pamby. What is it?
No namby-pamby, panty waist, bunch of dilettantes ever made anything.
I think that deserves to be on a mug, don't you think?
Yeah, namby-pamby, panty waist dilettantes here.
Yeah.
I don't know if that we could use that because they've actually copyrighted that. So I'm not exactly. Is that a copyright or a trademark?
Namby-pamby can't be copyright written.
That's true, but panty waist dilettantes all together, a string of words all together like that.
I don't know. We'll consult our legal team and we'll
find out. Get the legal merch team on that right away. Yeah. What would TC do is another one that we were asked.
Yeah. But think about it, Mark. What would the lawsuit look like if we were being sued for putting a bunch of namby-pamby panty waist dilettantes on a mug like that?
I know. That's what to me is funny because people have sent us different merch ideas for our store. Right. Shameless plug. Go to the BFG merch store in link in the description. But they would send me a really funny thing, but it would have a Scientology cross, like the S and double triangle, and I'd be like, yeah, I can't. I'm not putting that on a cup because they'll sue me over a mug. They won't sue me that I'm telling all of. All these great stories about Xenu.
You've got like confidential OSA docs and you're reading them on YouTube. Like that.
They can't touch that. But that S and double triangle, they'll latch onto that one.
Yeah, that's funny because a book designer that I'm working with, she had a character on the cover on one proposal wearing a little, not but like a Scientology cross. And then somebody said, well, careful, you might get sued for having that on there. So
yeah, you got to be really, that is the one thing. And I have said this in the past, they're not really litigious. They threaten legal action, but in a lot of cases, they don't actually ever do anything. But I think that's one where they might be like, no, we've got something here. We could at least get some money out of them, if not.
Yeah, or at least stop the publishing of the book or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. If there's a publisher involved or there's other people, they can send those people a letter and those people be like, oh, yeah, no, we got to take that off.
You know what I realized, Mark? I know we're on this sidebar now, but I realized when this little thing happened and somebody pointed out, there might be a legal issue using that cross. There's a video on the Scientology network, like a 5-6 minute video explaining the Scientology cross, the origin on it. It's an 8-pointed cross. It represents this and that. Excuse me. But the actual definition is that we changed the classic Christian cross. So if you try to use it, we're going to sue your ass. Yeah. That's why it really is a complicated version of the original cross.
Yeah. And just think about that. In any other religion, you can use their symbols and stuff like that.
They love it.
Put it on stuff.
Yeah, tomorrow I could go out and make Star of David jewelry. Bling, and there ain't no central, Hebrew authority that's going to come down on my ass.
Yeah, the Hasidic Jews don't pop out of a cabinet and threaten like you've been served. Yeah.
But a lot of them are lawyers too. So.
But in Scientology, you're gonna get a letter or an email if you put their logo on something and start selling it. Okay, so that sets you up for the course room and all that. Okay, now for the film, you mind if I tell the basic
synopsis? No, go ahead. You do it, and then I'll fill in if need be.
Perfect. So essentially, there's a student in this organization, and his name is Gringy. And Gringy is a student auditor. So he's learning how to do auditing. And as part of learning how to do auditing, you do practice on a real person. And Gringy is practicing on the executive director of that organization. And he gets very, very sick.
Like he's on his deathbed.
He's on his deathbed. And it was after he was audited by Gringy. So in Scientology, if you're in the organization getting auditing counseling, or you're doing training and you get sick, if you're getting counseling from an auditor, it's 90% of the time it's the auditor's fault. They did something
bad
wrong.
Session. Oh, they messed up the session for sure if you're sick.
Yeah. And just like you would practice on a doll so you don't mess up a person, but you then still have to practice on a person, you could still mess up and that person could get deathly ill, because a lot of this stuff is psychologically, I don't know how to explain it in any kind of educated perspective, but Scientology is a form of either like a weird thing of psychotherapy and maybe hypnotism and a bunch of stuff, all kind of. Hubbard never had an original thought in his life. I don't think he stole from a lot of different places, and he mixed it up into a big like jambalaya of nonsense. And
a rich protein stew.
Yeah. And so it's plausible that this happened. That the counselor was doing the executive director's counseling, and then he got deathly ill, and then they need to find out, what did this guy do? Well, when in the course of investigating the student, they also start investigating the dolls. And the dolls are sort of like a night in the museum situation, where in the classroom they're just there and they're just dolls, but when everybody goes home,
I was just going to say, like during the daytime, they're actually they were real dolls in the film sitting around the course room, and then we built like double size whatever huge set pieces, and we duplicated the dolls as humans. So then at night, and it was, I have to say that this was wherever Hubbard stole this idea, Hans Christian Andersen, I don't know, fairy tales. It was kind of a cute idea that at night all the dolls are, and they all came to life. And they would audit one another, like, oh, look, the dolls are going up the bridge too.
Yes.
It was like so sweet. But I wanted to speak to one point that you made earlier about the power of auditing in real life, that it does have an ability to affect people. Think of it like the mental phenomena of a placebo. Like some people get a placebo and they get well, and there's no explanation of that. And it's that same kind of like mind over matter, psychosomatic phenomena, which doctors and mental health people acknowledge, that would then potentially make a person sick because they believe they should get sick. I knew a person, a Sea Org member, who, like, you couldn't ask her to do math. If you gave her math, she would make her sick. This person, but I'm not going to mention names. But like literally, she's like, oh no, the math, because in my head, and I mean, it just like there's this crazy stuff that goes on. So
yeah, and
I think he gets sick. Yeah.
And I think you're right. That is a sort of a thing in Scientology. If you believe doing Scientology is going to make you better, and then you start getting better, then you're like, oh, it's working, I'm going to keep doing it.
Placebo effect.
Yeah, totally. Anyway, so that in the course of investigating the student, and there's actually a reporter that's running around asking questions, and the reporter was played by the same guy who was the person that we talked about in the Devil and the Angel film. He was the one that was in hell.
Right.
Doug. His name is Doug.
Yeah, Doug.
And so Doug
not
played
a Scientologist, just a pro actor.
Just a professional actor that was going around, and in his part was he would go to all these different people. He'd like, so what's the story with blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he gets a hot tip from somebody that the dolls are boozing it up at night, and they're getting drunk. At least this one doll, whose name is Captain Jack. Yeah. Now, Captain Jack was played by Danny Masterson. He is a
particularly flirty doll, if I might mention.
Well, I hope we don't get demonetized for this, but
the
saying
doll. Flirty? No, he was just flirty. He's fine.
No. But in the movie, the doll not only he's sniffing these empty beer bottles, liquor bottles, which to a doll, that's a big hit, just getting a good whiff off of one of these things.
Yeah, the line is, if you remember, Mark, the line is he's sniffing the booze bottles, and he says, the reporter eventually, when he catches up with him, he asks him, he says, and he's kind of makes a funny look at him because he's sniffing it, and the Danny Masterson character says, well, everybody knows dolls don't have stomachs. So he's literally snorting these bottles. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, because he can't drink it. He's just huffing liquor.
Right.
But am I wrong to say that he tries to get the girl doll also to do that?
No, I don't. No. What happened was he was so enamored of her.
Yeah.
He was just enamored. Like he was
Okay.
like that skunk in that cartoon. Like he was, I forget his name, but he was always so distracted by this other doll. And he and the other doll, they were two space dolls.
Yeah, and it was Captain Jack, and this is
yeah.
Goldie was the name of the other doll.
Goldie Dawn.
Goldie Dawn was the name of the other doll in the movie, and it was
she was
played.
a good doll.
Yeah, she was a very straight-laced.
Yeah,
full,
she was like a Catholic school doll.
Yes, but they were both wearing these silver lame onesies that had like a space patch on it.
Yeah, like a jumpsuit, like a space, like a jumpsuit.
But it wasn't poofy. It was just like pajamas,
Oh yeah, no, it was like they were just in aluminum foil. It was a little better than that, like silver lame. It was like
silver lame. That's exactly what they were. That's what their outfit was made of, and so Danny's character, Captain Jack, is boozing up, and so he's
hold on. One second. Let me just. So what happens is he is being suspected by whoever's investigating this of being the culprit. They want to talk to Captain Jack. He takes it on the lam. He goes on the lam, and the cops are looking for him. Everybody's looking for him, and then the reporter gets a tip that he's hiding out in the attic of the org, because the org is an old a Victorian building, and it's huge, maybe 4 stories, and there's a hidden attic.
That's right.
And he's living up in the attic this whole time.
And that's where the empty booze bottles are.
Yeah, he finds the empty booze bottles, and then he becomes addicted to the empty booze bottles, while he's lamenting all of this crazy stuff. And so that's basically the film starts with the reporter finding him. And then we switch to, we go into Doll Land, where we have these things.
And he says, there was a happier time.
Yeah.
And then it cuts back to the past when all the dolls are getting people doing things.
Oh, yeah, because at the beginning, it was like a flashback to how awesome everything was.
Yes, totally. And yes, that's right. He lived in the attic.
Yeah, and that's where they found him.
Yeah, and so then eventually we meet this Gringy character, and that was played by an actor by the name of Tate Rupert, and he played Gringy, and Gringy had his own problems, but he was just...
Oh, no, come on. He was like covered in dirt, and his clothes were soiled. His e-meter was like held together with duct tape.
Yeah.
And he was a mess.
He was a mess. And because he had been using Captain Jack as his doll to train with, it was sort of, okay, it's got to be this Captain Jack guy that's messing all this up.
Messed up his auditor, didn't train him properly, like it was a doll that would be doing it.
Yeah. And then eventually we find out that there was a supervisor, and I don't remember the actor's name, but I want to say either in this film or another film, it had a description of this guy as rat-faced. He looked rat-faced.
I think it was this film that Hubbard described his character as rat-faced.
Yeah, and there was an actor who was sort of hanging around the Hollywood Scientology scene, and he was another one of these people who was like in the club, but he never really did anything in Scientology. He was just kind of in the sphere of it all.
Like a Scientology groupie, if you can imagine such a thing.
Well, to get jobs, it might have been profitable for him to kind of play and be in the same kind of orbit as these guys. Right. And but this guy that was cast, he literally had a rat face. He looked the part. It was one of those ones where Mitch would there might be 2 or 3 people for the part, and Mitch would say, this is the person I'm submitting, and then this person is an alternate, and there might be 1 or 2 alternates that could play that part. And I think for this one it was just like, no, this is the guy. We've got this guy. He's the guy.
He was nailed.
But We got to tell the Jenna story at some point too, the casting submission, because I've told the story a million times, but never with you
No,
on, and you were the one.
we need to tell. We should tell. But since you're on the subject of the cast, so we had notable people would be Danny Masterson,
Yeah.
and Jenna would have been a notable reject from the film,
Yes.
right? But also we had Marissa Ribisi, Lonnie's sister.
That's right. She played one of the dolls.
She was Raggedy Ann.
Yes, that's right. And I think
she did a really good job.
She did, yeah. And it was really weird for me because Marissa was my first girlfriend at Delphi. And because we went to school together, Giovanni Ribisi, Marissa Ribisi. And so when she came to the base, it was sort of like, oh, hey there. Hey, Marissa, what's up? And then there was a few other dolls that had bit parts. There was like a ballerina doll, and there was a teddy bear.
She's gone.
Yeah, that was, though. Some of the other dolls were played by Sea Org members.
Yeah, they're totally gone. The bear particularly was a big guy who was he was actually Adam. The bear Jew. That's really funny because Adam was very Jewish.
Yeah.
Very respectful of his Jewish heritage. And
yes.
He was the bear. So like in Quentin Tarantino's movie, in Glorious Bastards, he was the bear Jew.
Yes, he really was.
He was literally the bear Jew.
But and then the executive director was played by a guy that used to be an actor, or he was something. He did voiceovers. He was an actor.
No, he was a Canadian actor, and he had a lot of acting credits, and then he went and joined staff.
He joined the Sea Org in Florida. I think he was the senior
somewhere, and we were like, "What are you doing? We just cast you in a film." But we actually got permission to get him out of there and come work on the film because he was perfect, and Gold had that kind of clout.
Yes,
we could get a Sea Org member out of Florida, out of Flag.
Yeah, I wonder.
Jacques. I used to think his first name was Jacques.
Yeah,
and I know I
hopefully somebody will know him. And
somebody made a joke. It was actually Michael Adams. Do you remember him? Michael Adams, another guy we did a lot of work with.
Yeah,
another actor. He was in a film with Michael Adams, and Michael Adams stuck a broom. This is another thing, unfortunately, we didn't get caught for. Just out of the blue, there was a broom on the set as a prop, and Michael grabbed the broom, handed it to Jacques. Jacques grabbed the broom, and then Michael pointed to him and went, "It's Jacques Custodian." And
oh my goodness!
It took the crew like 5 minutes to settle down. Unfortunately, nobody walked in to see.
Yeah, no one recorded that.
Yeah, exactly. So I always remember that guy's name is Jacques Custodian, but.
Yeah, I don't remember what his last name was because it was another
Duray. Jacques Duray, I think was his name.
Okay, well, if somebody knows this guy, let us know in the comments. He was in Clearwater at the Flag Land Base. I want to say as either an auditor or he was over the L rundowns. If you know what that is. Some kind of technical thing in Clearwater, and then I haven't heard or seen anything.
No, but nobody has a reference to this. So let's get back to the film.
Yes. So anyway, then the ED was played by that guy. We had a whole bunch of dolls that were kind of a mix between Sea Org members and professional actors.
Mostly they were based out.
Yeah, I think the only three were Marissa. We had Danny, and there was one other. Oh, the girl doll, Goldie doll, was also played by a Scientology.
She was Robin Alessandrini.
Yes, Robin Alessandrini, and she wasn't a Sea Org member. She was an actress in Hollywood.
Right. And a good friend of Danny's, by the way, and I've heard rumors that she may have been an early.
Yeah, she might have been an early
victim.
An early, and which is saying something because I want to say we shot this in the early 90s. Danny would have been 15 or 16.
No, he was absolutely, he was 15, 100%.
Yeah, he was 15 when we shot this movie. And so then evidently there was some kind of drama between the two of them. And then she ended up joining the Sea organization.
She did. Well, there was even more drama than that. Her father was
Mm.
a if anybody knows about what happened with David Miscavige shut down the Mission Network, he called a bunch of mission holders together. He didn't like the fact that they were profitable and they were making money, which is what they were supposed to be doing. They were supposed to be profitable and making money.
Yeah.
And Miscavige, one of the things that he famously did when he dismantled Scientology was he took the whole Mission Network apart. And her father, because he told me this, which I'm sure was a lie, that her father was one of the main culprits and he had embezzled $1 million from the church, and he was, declared and blah blah blah. And then I think she was kind of really in a tough spot when that happened, so she joined the Sea Org.
Yeah,
So
that happened right around the time of this
yeah,
filming.
because all of a sudden her father is declared a suppressive person, and then she's in the Sea Org. You keep going, Mark. I got to let my puppy out.
Okay. Anyway, so yeah, we had the three. So we had Robin played Goldie, Danny Masterson played Captain Jack, and then we had Marissa, and I think all the other dolls were Sea Org members, and then we had Tate as Gringy, and
So
then
yeah, but I sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I just literally recapped all the cast. I think those are all the people. Oh, I forgot the best part. And then there is a Sea Org missionaire who shows up and saves the day of the whole film. He actually
that was probably one of the whole thing is leading up to finding the culprit, like who is the real culprit, and then finally the culprit is identified, unmasked, and there's the music changes pitch, and there's drum rolls, and there's a Sea Org mission going to come in and handle the whole thing. And
I'm that guy.
Yeah,
I played the Sea Org missionaire, and I come in and I sec check the supervisor, and I know
you slam that guy down.
It's rat face.
Cans in his hands.
I do. I shove him in the chair. I put the cans in his hand. I start asking him questions. And in Scientology, if you have an evil purpose, L. Ron Hubbard said that the needle reaction on the E-meter will be what's called a rock slam. And the needle's just dancing all over the place wildly, erratically. Right. And so I'm asking this guy the questions, and he's getting all like, and I'm just bulleting questions at him. And then the needle starts going, and then it's like, that's right. I'm out. And then, excuse me, then I declare the supervisor a suppressive. I give Captain Jack, I let him off the hook. It's not Captain Jack. It wasn't Captain Jack. He's got to stop boozing. But besides huffing alcohol bottles, he can go back to the course room. And then in the end of the movie, after I do all this, then it goes back to happy times. And they do like a dance. Don't they have like a dance off?
Oh, my God. Well, yeah. And Danny he was so annoying. We haven't really talked about Danny, but at 15 years old, he was one of these sort of very tiring to be around narcissistic kids who demanded on being the center of attention at all times. He would literally, between takes, he'd yell, remember this? Dance break. Remember that?
Yes.
And he would start dancing, and he'd get the cast all dancing, and we're like, fuck, dude, we're making a movie here. So, but he had to sort of just, he was like later when he became a DJ and stuff. And he was just an annoying kid that really thought he was special and could get away with anything.
And I think this might have been Danny's first film.
I'm sure he did as a film with a crew and a camera. Yeah, this was.
I think he did some TV. To say I gave him a start. Yeah, I think he had some TV work before this. I think he was on like I think he was on a TV show with a dog or something, and he actually
he was in the Beethoven films.
There you go.
Yeah, that might have been first, but that was not. Yeah, this is the first thing he ever released.
I can't remember. It was It might have been also around the same time, but he was also on the cover of the dictionary we used in Scientology.
Right. He was as a model.
As a model, he was a child model actor, commercial kid. I think that's kind of what his lane was when he was younger, and so we had all seen him because he was on the dictionary, and we use dictionaries all the time. So Danny, I don't know what happened to Mitch. We'll figure it out when he shows back up. We'll pop him back in here. And there he is.
Up out of the thing. Everyone's always complaining about his trackpad.
Yeah. Oh my.
Yeah. I forgot to grab my mouse. I use a mouse with my laptop, and this trackpad. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mark.
Anyway, so either way, Danny was known to us as a Scientology actor kid, but his mother was his manager and his agent, and he was sort of like, we're going to try to get something going with him. And this was again, this was probably in, I want to say it was 92 or 93 when we.
That sounds right.
1992. So, and we shot this film at the Golden Era Productions facility, and we shot it in that the tiny studio. If you've watched any of our other videos in this series, it was called The Gym, and we shot the whole film. I want to say we shot the entire film in the gym. I don't think we shot any. No, we had an attic set, a course room set, and then the sec checker set, and then maybe the executive director's office or some little tiny,
I don't think we found any locations, but it was,
no.
Plus, the thing had a very specific look. It looked like it was maybe in a city like an old part of Boston or something, where you had very big buildings that were brick, and they were like, they had attics, huge attics and stuff like that. It looked like that.
Yeah. And, I think that is, I don't remember, besides Danny, I do remember Danny being like kind of a punk ass kid, and sort of, you could tell that he was definitely used to just doing whatever he wanted to do.
Right.
And he was just kind of like, he was just a little out of control also, you're talking about, you're hanging out with Sea Org members, and everything they do is highly, highly controlled. So having this kid sort of running around, it was just like,
he's very random.
Yeah. And then I don't remember, I'm trying to think if there was any other crazy stories that happened in the movie. I don't remember anything. We did have to do, we made all these sets, like Mitch said, everything was oversized. So when the dolls interacted with them, they would, it would, like a table would be, the tables we were using were 10 foot tall.
Right. And then, we'd use false perspective. Like we'd put one actor right next to camera and then another actor far back looking at one another, and then it would look like it's an old trick. It would look like they were talking to one another.
Yeah, we used forced perspective when the reporter is interviewing Danny, because Danny's in one perspective and the reporter is normal size. So we had to frame them. And didn't we have different shifted lenses, so we could have one depth of field here and another one had depth of field there?
Yeah, it was we did analog stuff. There was no digital stuff was done there. We did a really good job. I mean, there's some very good films have been done that way. I mean, they're redoing that film. I remember when I left, they were talking about it, because obviously the Danny Masterson thing had broken in 2017.
That's true, because that was already brewing while you were still there.
Oh yeah, 2017, I think the story broke. Right?
Wow. So so there was definitely going to be like, they probably had a few films left that they didn't need to reshoot, and it's like, oh no, there goes another one.
Because I know I had brought in some examples of really good. There was a film, I can't think of the name of it, what it was, on Netflix that had, I think it was a Netflix series or maybe a Amazon series that took place in like the Victorian days and industrial age. And they had a bunch of freaks, like X-Men type of people. They all had different. One of them was a girl who was like about 10 feet tall. I remember bringing that in and saying, hey, this is how you got to do this, because this is like, it was amazing. A combination of digital effects and various different things. So I'm sure they'll have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, and at the time, everything that was done at Golden Era was very old school. Whatever Hubbard did, that was sort of our example. So when Mitch started showing up and bringing outside movie references and outside production technology, techniques, but just like even I joke now, but like this was technology they had since the 40s or the 50s. This was not maybe even earlier.
But it was actually that's very true. They had when I showed up there, they had an Oxbury animation camera. They had the exact same animation camera that I had at Cal Arts when I was studying animation back then. 20 years earlier.
Where you'd put a film or an image in. And
they're called cells, animation cells.
Animation cells, and you'd click one picture, and then you'd take that one out, and then you'd put the next one in.
Or you might even just put it in, and then it had very very fine adjustments. You could then move it a little, shoot it again, move it a little, shoot it again, so you could get an image to pan across the frame.
That's right.
This is like old school. I mean, I wish somebody would make an incredible piece of art on an Oxbury animation table like old school,
Yeah.
But I mean, by the time Gold had started doing that, that technology had become forgotten. I mean, even Disney, who invented it, I had a professor in film school who was a top Disney animator, and he said that the technology of the pen and ink technology that they use to outline the characters, like let's say in Cinderella or Snow White or Dumbo, he said it would take 20 years to train people to do that because that was such a lost art. And Gold was kind of hanging on to some of the when they didn't really even know how to do it, but they were hanging on to like some of this technology. And so
I want to say that I want to say they even use that Oxbury for titles and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
too.
I think they primarily use it for titles because they didn't really know how to do animation, and it was considered like a titling camera. They also had this really amazing. I'm reaching down and handing my dog treats because
That's why your dog barks, because it knows it's going to get a treat.
I know. I've trained him. That now when I'm sitting here in this thing, he's like, "Oh, treat time." Usually, I like.
We have to.
A stream. I know what you're going to say.
I'm torn. I'm torn. There's a whole bunch of SPTV channels. People that are doing SPTV, these videos, ex-Scientology, former members, and about half of them have dogs and half of them don't have dogs. And the ones that do have dogs, mostly you're hearing and seeing those dogs in their streams.
Oh, I know. We can't get rid of our dogs.
And I sort of live in between. I do have 2 dogs. I'm in a room that's 3 doors away from a dog, so there's no way you're ever going to see
I have a spare
dog
bedroom in my house. I know, but I need to take the time to convert that bedroom into a studio, and then I'll be okay. But short of that, I'm going to take your recommendation and find some doggy edibles and just get him like waxed out.
CBD dog treats, just like, hey, take this, take it easy.
Well, I have an outro because my older son Evan, who he took this really incredible video of my dog in the backyard in the patio. Going after a beetle, a bug, like, hey, he's like, so he shot it and I turned it into an outro. I don't know if you've seen it, but it says,
I want to watch that.
Osa plants bug,
that's awesome.
I'd play it now, but I don't have control. So anyway, Weston, you're going to have, okay, come here.
Stoner puppy. Somebody said stoner puppy. Cat and Maggie says, stoner puppy. Anyway, so I get that there's a lot of dog lovers out there. I love dogs. I just don't love when they bark.
He's only 2 years old.
Yeah. Well,
so he's just in that still transition from being a puppy.
Yeah.
So he doesn't really know that.
I love dogs, and I know they're going to bark. So
and he's a beagle. He's a beagle. He's a hound.
Nice.
Hounds they're insane.
That's born. They're born into it. They know they need to do that, so they're going to do
exactly.
that. He doesn't know that you're not supposed to bark during a live.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not like they're German shepherds. You can teach them that stuff.
So are there any other stories on this one? I'm trying to think.
Anecdotes from this one. Well, no, not really. Do you remember we used to do trailers for these movies? You talked about that one.
That's right.
For some ridiculous reason, I mean, Danny and his brother Jordan, who's a really nice kid when we knew him. Yeah. They're half brothers, and you couldn't imagine 2 kids they didn't even look like they were related. But for some reason, we grabbed Jordan and used him to play the Captain Jack character remember, we did a trailer with Jordan, and it was like I had to shoot him like down the block, running away.
You're right. We used it. It was in an alley, wasn't it? When he goes,
we went to downtown LA, I think, and
I'm so glad you remember this. So we did these trailers. We did these trailers years after we did the films in most cases.
Sometimes years.
Well, there was a time period where we were cranking out trailers because we didn't have anything else to do.
That's right. We went onto like trailer land.
We went into trailer mode, and we just were shooting trailers. And I remember we shot in downtown Los Angeles, and we were shooting in an alley, and we had to have a rain rig in the alley, and Jordan had to run down the alley, but we had to make it so that he looked like Danny because it wasn't Danny, and it was a big concern.
Right, Danny was now too big.
Yeah, he was too old to do
it,
this.
and now we need to do Jordan. With Jordan, Danny was a skinny little kid. Well, he was a skinny little adult as well.
Yeah.
But Jordan was a husky kid, like his dad, who was like a rugby player.
Yes.
So it was Danny was blonde. Jordan had dark hair. Danny
Yeah.
had very white skin. Jordan was, whatever, definitely not light skin.
No.
So
His dad was very dark too, like more of an olive-y, dark
Yeah,
olive.
he looked like he was part, because he's Aussie. Maybe he was part. Maybe he was part.
Something.
Yeah, exactly.
Either way, they didn't look alike. And I don't even really remember why we used Jordan, because he didn't look any. It was just,
because
it was
his
sort
last
of like,
name was Masterson.
yeah, we used Danny, and that was the best part, because it was sort of like we were kind of trying to get away with something. We couldn't use Danny because he aged out, but we used his younger brother, and it was like his younger half brother who doesn't look anything like him.
Nothing.
But it worked. It was also dark and raining, so I think that kind of helped us a little.
Yeah, I don't know why we didn't use Chris. That would have been a much better.
Well, that's what I was thinking. But the best part is, I remember. Do you remember who we got for the VO for that one?
No.
It was Fontaine. In a world.
Oh, right.
Hunted, wanted. Right. And that he's the one who does the VO for that
the most
for that trailer.
Movie trailer voiceover in history.
Yeah, but it literally was that guy. You know who I'm talking about, guys. The guy goes, "In a world." It was that dude who did the trailer. For this.
That's amazing. Yeah, I forgot about that. Now, do you remember, Mark?
I think his name was something Delafontaine.
Something.
I can't remember, but that was the guy.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say that was maybe the first time that I took the Gold Crew to LA to shoot in an alley. Like I had done so many shots in alleys, music videos and commercials. And one of the things about the alleys in downtown LA is they are inhabited by homeless people. Unfortunately,
I was just gonna say
we have a huge homeless problem. So what you need to do is your permit allows you to move the homeless. You have to be respectful about how you do it. Sometimes the city will even do it. And then you send a crew there. There's literally services for the motion picture industry that will go down to these alleys. They'll clean them up. They'll scrape out all the human waste and whatever. And then they'll have a water truck full of disinfectant that with sprayers that will go down the alley, and they'll spray it with disinfectant, which is what the industry demands before they'll allow their people to work in them. But there's no way Gold's going to spend money for that.
Well, and to tell you the truth, we did have a water truck and we did have a rain rig.
Because we wanted it rainy and we wanted it.
But we didn't have the disinfectant part.
But that just made it worse when the rain hit.
That's what I'm going to tell you. That's what I was going to say. You've never smelled anything until you've sent a water truck down an alley of downtown LA that hadn't been hosed down in 4 or 5 months. Yeah. And then you hose that whole alley down. Oh, the smells. Oh, the liquids that will come.
Oh, my God. You have to bulldoze it before you spray it. You have to get everything out of there.
And we didn't have anybody clear anybody out. We didn't have anybody moving anybody. We didn't have any of those things. That all we had was water truck. We could do one wet down. And then I think we only had a truck. So the only thing we could do was get everything wet.
Yeah.
And then run the rain rigs from that truck.
Well, yeah. Usually what you do is you get a water truck, and then the water truck comes up is filled with water. And then they have permits to fill up from the local hydrant. They actually get a permit from the fire department, so they can use the fire hydrants to fill up, and they pay for the water. We had like one load in a fire truck.
Yeah.
That was it. Right?
Yeah. And the worst part is that, and we would hate shooting in these alleys, because there's one thing that happens is you have to light all that. Right. And when you set up these lights all over this alley, you have your power cords to all the lights. And these are big, thick, dirty, you're getting like 220 power or whatever, 240 or whatever it is, getting distribution boxes.
They're massive cables.
And you're talking about miles of cable for one alley shoot. And those cables are sitting in these puddles of liquid.
Say what it is. It's human excrement. Okay?
Well, it's waste. It's
waste. Human
watered down waste. Watered down waste. Yeah. And so when we, at the end of the night or in the morning as it would come, if we did a night shoot, it was going to end when the sun came out. That's how gold works. Okay.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully we got all the shots before the sun came out. Yeah. But in most cases, it's like we got about 10 more minutes to get this shot, and then the sun's here, and it ain't going to be a night shoot anymore. Or we'd have
Oh,
to
right.
do day for night or something else. Either
Well,
way.
we would hide in doorways where there was a shadow and maybe get a
Yeah.
couple of close-ups
Yeah,
when the sun's
that's
coming
true.
up.
There were
Yeah.
times where it's like, how are we still shooting? I thought this was a night shoot. We're really close. You can't tell.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so then we'd end up having to wrap all these cables, and it was, oh my God. And sometimes we'd have to wrap everything. And then when we got back to either Gold or we got back to the complex, the big Scientology blue building in LA, if we were shooting in LA, we'd sometimes stay there instead of having to drive all the way back
Right.
into the desert
Right.
to go back to Gold. But we would sometimes, when we would get back to Golden Era, we'd have to lay everything out and just take a fire hose and hose everything down just to get that off of it, because otherwise the cables and the truck, that everything would smell like that for the rest of the time unless we
Right.
just we'd have to literally just field strip our trucks and our gearboxes.
Oh, yeah.
And just hose everything out.
There was one alley we like to film in, which is actually a pretty famous alley in the world of motion picture location filming in Los Angeles. But our name for that alley was a word. It starts with S and ends with T, and it was that word alley. And you'd say, "Yeah, we're going to go down to that word alley." And everybody knew. Oh yeah, we're going to that. But I will say that in a future time, they learned their lesson. That it just was like, I think somebody had come down and visited us, and after that, they started paying the money for the.
Oh, you got the full.
Oh yeah, eventually it just had to be done.
Not during my tenure.
No, I wouldn't. Eventually, Dick, I wouldn't do it. I would just like, no way.
No,
not going
I don't
near
know
there.
what you said earlier, but it was called Piss Alley.
Yeah, I said S, but yeah, you're right. It was P. It was Piss Alley. I thought
Yeah,
it was shit alley, but
It was shit alley.
You're right.
People are
it
like,
was
shirt alley? I'm like, no, it was piss alley.
Yeah, it was piss shirt alley. Yeah.
But people would say, yes, somebody said shirt alley. No, when it would literally be on the location list
It'd say Piss Alley.
as Piss Alley, and everybody knew what Piss Alley was. It would be like, oh shit, we got to, and we would even pack the gear that we didn't care about getting ruined, or we would take out all the good stuff and pack the truck with all the bare bone stuff, and then that way, if it smelled like piss, it's like, well, we don't use it that much. We don't have to worry about it.
Right, exactly.
Piss Alley. Yeah, I remember that.
Those were the
good old
days. Yeah, those were
good
the
old
days,
days.
for sure.
Piss Alley at 5 a.m. trying to get a coffee or trying to get something for a talent or, whatever. We actually probably we shot a lot of music video. Excuse me. We shot a lot of Scientology music videos in downtown Los Angeles.
Right.
We shot a lot of trailers down there.
Right.
I want to say if we shot less than 6 times in Piss Alley, I'd be surprised.
Oh, I'm sure we shot at least a dozen. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Speaking of shooting in downtown LA, when we were doing the Dianetics, this is a whole other. When we were doing the Dianetics, the infomercial, the one we did with Grant Cardone.
Yes. Oh, we have to tell that whole story sometimes. Grant Cardone, for those of you who don't know, Grant Cardone fancies himself as sort of like an internet billionaire. He's not. But
He's actually starting to be known in social media as fake billionaire.
Fake billionaire. That is
becoming
certainly what he is.
His brand.
Either way, we shot with him very early on in his sort of sales career. He had a company at that time that just trained car salesmen on how to sell cars.
He would do, what do they call that? Inspirational speeches. What do you call that? He literally,
inspirational. He was like a motivational speaker.
Motivational. Yeah. Thank you. He was filling like not stadiums, but like huge auditorium
conference halls and stuff.
Yeah. And selling tickets for like $100. He was making a ton of money, and he was a slumlord. He was buying shit ass, cheap, like slum apartments in the crappiest part of Phoenix, Arizona. Because he was always telling me, Mitch, you got to get in on this deal, man. Give me your money. But what happened was Grant Cardone had just gotten into Scientology. He'd gotten in Laguna. A few months before this, he'd gotten in Laguna. He'd had a drug problem and a womanizing problem. I mean, he told me this personally. So, Grant, if you want to sue me, that's you. Well, I could use some of your billions. Okay.
His origin story that he tells
It's crazy.
is so
It's
far
bullshit.
from the truth.
Yeah,
And
it's
we're going to
total
tell one,
bullshit.
now that we're on a grant and it's a location story, I'm telling that one next, but finish your story.
The one about when he met his wife, Elaine?
Yep, don't tell it. Don't tell it.
No, I'm not. I'm just teasing it. If you watch this video to the end,
yes.
we'll
tell
you.
Grant's real origin story
Yeah.
of his wife at the end.
Yeah, so he was, so he kind of like got off of drugs, a particular type of drug that I'm not going to mention the name of it.
He told me he didn't like doing it. He just liked the way it smells.
That's a joke, folks. Marc
It is a
made that
joke.
up. Yeah.
It is a joke.
Yeah.
He hated doing it. He just liked the way it smelled.
It helped me breathe. It opened up my nostrils. So no, he sold his house in Windansea Beach in La Jolla, one of the most expensive beaches in all of California. Like, you won't find anything that it makes Malibu look cheap. He sold that house. He moved to LA, moved into the manor. We were desperately looking for an on-camera spokesperson for Dianetics. Somebody said that this guy, Grant Cardone, who just got into Scientology, and he's a motivational speaker, maybe he'll work. So I said, okay, get me a videotape of the guy. And he's like, he's got this, he's from Lafayette,
Sales.
Louisiana.
Yeah.
He's got this pitch and he's got the Southern accent and he's real gruff. He's a manly man. And I was like, I don't know. He's a little, like, he's a tough guy in an expensive suit, right? Like, this is just weird. So we were so desperate, I proposed it. And it was kind of one of those things where I said, yeah, I think he's good. And Miscavige was like, you think he's good? Okay, I think he's good. But we were so desperate, right? We needed something.
But remember, Dave, and I remember this because I ended up having to be the one. You proposed him, and then it went up, and then he wrote back to me. And he said,
the shoot crew chief.
That's right. I think at this time,
were you the producer?
Maybe I think I might have been the pre-production director by this time,
right.
By the time we were doing this.
Right.
And so I was over talent. I was over the talent department. And and he said, I think that Michael Fairman or Michael Roberts would be much better for this infomercial lead, sort of like the reason Scientology works or whatever. It was, and to be fair, it was actually for Dianetics specifically as an updated version of this. We had this thing called, in Scientology, they made it its own name, which was a documercial. So like a documentary and an infomercial together. And it was called the Dianetics documercial.
Yeah, they made that shit up. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, no, it was
they didn't
100%.
want to be as positioned with an infomercial because that's kind of cheap retail stuff.
That's right. So
they
we
wanted
made
to be cheap
retail,
but call it something else.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was. So the Dianetics documercial was born, and David Miscavige wanted Michael Roberts, who was also Michael D. Roberts, who was a Scientology actor who was in Rain Man and Ice Pirates, and he's been in a million TV shows, and we used him a lot for the films and for videos. And Michael Fairman, who was also a Scientology actor, and he mainly played like old psychiatrists and German doctors.
Yeah, he was a very good character actor. He was a really good character actor.
And we shot the original Dianetics documercial with Michael Fairman.
Yeah. When you do that, can you say documercial?
Yeah, documercial.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I feel more comfortable with that.
Anyway, so David Miscavige said, I want either Michael Fairman or Michael D. Roberts. I don't like this Grant guy at all. He seems like a slimy. He seems like a slimy. He said a word.
Did he put that in writing or did he?
Yes. Oh, 100%. I had to answer. I had to do a whole thing. But he said, I think Smarmy was the name he called him.
Perfect. He would have called him. Yeah, perfect.
He came up as a smarmy kind of sales pitch guy. So, and I, at the time, I really thought that Grant was better than the other two for something new because these guys were aging out. I was thinking, if we want to show something new, we got to use a younger, newer kind of attack at this.
Absolutely.
And so David Miscavige said, prove to me that he is liked better than these other two guys. And so we had to get all three of them to do a line. And I remember because I had to hire a cameraman in Ohio, which is where Grant was doing one of his car sales seminars. I had to have
Wow.
I had to hire a cameraman in Ohio to go to his hotel room and shoot this little script that we had written for all of them. We got Michael D. Roberts to do it, Michael Fairman to do it, and Grant to do it. We had to take those videos and go to UC Riverside with laptops and say, if you were watching on TV and one of these guys read it, which would you pick? And we had to have them watch all three.
So you did a focus test. I don't remember that.
Yeah, we had to do a focus group at UC Riverside, and I want to say we had to do like 2,000 students. We had to ask this to.
Oh my God.
And so we were there for like, I want to say it was at least many days that we would go, get all the laptops.
Just for the audience, UC Riverside was maybe 25 minutes from the base.
Yeah, exactly. It was down the 10 freeway.
Yeah, and it's actually a noted school for things like engineering. It's like a real legitimate place.
And I want to say we did 2,000 people.
Wow.
1,500 picked Grant compared to the other. Like
wow.
Grant had like whatever it was, whatever the amount was, Grant got like 75% and the other two split the 25. Right. So I was sort of like, to me, it was also one of these things like Dave Miscavige was like, I don't agree with you, but I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I want to make you wrong. I want you to go
right.
and prove to yourself that you're wrong. You're wrong. And so then I was like,
you literally failed to do that.
I was literally like, oh, this is going to burn, Dave, when you get this back. So then we set it back up. And so then he was approved. It was just like, okay on, and I think he might even have said, okay on your okay. Kind of one of those, you know, like when he doesn't want to say, he doesn't want to be the one to approve it. He's just going to approve it because you said that's what you wanted to do. So he's going to say, I'm going to trust your decision.
Does that go on a t-shirt? Okay on your okay?
Okay on your okay. I don't know. You keep thinking of new merch ideas, but I ain't seen any merch coming out of you. So
well, I know I need help. I need help setting up a store.
I'm leaving all these for you, and
thanks,
I'm not doing any of them because, you know, I'll sell if there. What was the one we thought of? There's not what would Xenu do? I can't remember some of. Oh, don't be dumb. Give me some. Yeah, I want to do that one, but if you're going to do it, I'll let you do it. But either way,
I got to get that going. We'll talk later about that.
Yes, we will. Anyway, so we get Grant approved, and then it's this just never ending. We got to see the jacket. We got to see the makeup. We got to see the costume. We got to see. And so we just did tests and tests and tests and tests with Grant. And then finally we get that approved and we do sort of like this really fancy set with, you know, shafts of light coming in and all this stuff. And then, we have to do some location shoots. And now this is where I'm going to let you tell the story because this happened on your end. Yeah. We had like a honey wagon, right?
Yeah, no, we had a legit.
Goldie Hawn's. It was Goldie Hawn's.
No. This is one that we rented. This was like really legit. Not a honey wagon. A honey wagon is just bathrooms. This was a legit motorhome, like a pretty decent mid-level motorhome. And we had a night shoot, and we shoot a lot of vignettes. And what I mean by that is, you know, somebody like the spokesperson like Grant, he would be telling a story and he'd say something about, you know, you have an upset with another person. And then we would cut and there'd be a very short vignette of two people having a fight. So we cast a couple of actors. I knew one of them, the guy. I didn't know the girl. I cast her off a picture. You don't need to see auditions for somebody that all they're going to be doing is screaming at their boyfriend on a street corner and then walking off in disgust. That was
in downtown LA at night.
Yeah, downtown LA. And that was her whole part. It was maybe a 10-second shot, right? You know, we'd get like, you know, a coverage on both of them and a 2-shot and good night. Thank you very much. So I'm sitting in the motorhome and talking to Grant, and there's a really alluring, it's a very beautiful woman walks in, which was Elaine or whatever her name was there. I don't know. And we're sitting there talking. She came in to introduce herself to me and to sign in with talent because they have to sign in. And I didn't know her. And I said, great, thank you very much. Nice to meet you. And she walked out. And then Grant was like, he was like, what? He was like electrified. He was like stunned into paralysis. And he turned to me and he said, can you introduce me to her? And I said, no, I'm not going to pimp for you, dude.
Well,
Literally.
and
That's
to
what I said. I said,
and
I'm
to
not going
interject,
to, yeah.
Grant had a history of meeting girls on shoots with us and then messing up stuff for us. So
Yeah, exactly.
we weren't so eager to invite him
Yeah.
or introduce him to actresses that we were doing stuff
I
with.
said, look, she's right. You could just go out there and introduce yourself, because I'm not going to like do this for you. So
Yes.
yes. So anyway, supposedly the story is as they tell it, he pursued her for a long period of time, which I guess maybe that's true. I don't really know. But when they got married, Grant hired a graphic artist, a graphic like cartoonist, to make a comic book, literally like a graphic novel comic book, like look like an Archie comic, that kind of comic,
Yeah.
to illustrate how he met Elena, how
Oh my
he was
goodness.
on this shoot, and
Yeah.
I was in there, and it was a director, and I introduced them, and he did this whole
Yeah.
thing, and
Well,
then
they tell
totally
on
different.
their channels, or when they're doing, they do speeches, and Elena
Yeah,
has sort of got her own sort of
yeah, she's
cabal that she does
oh yeah,
women
she's
influenced
branded
finance
as an
stuff.
empowered woman. She's
Yeah.
not. She's
Well,
got about anyway, whatever. Don't get me started.
either way, they say they met on a commercial. That's
No, no, no.
their
This is
story.
no. I'm looking for the video because I meant to
Yeah.
download it. She got interviewed on some YouTube channel about how they met, right? Because
Yeah.
they're supposed to have some 10x marriage. Everything about them is 10x. Well, their marriage is 10x too.
Yeah.
And she says, well, I was shooting a commercial in downtown Los Angeles, and Grant was a friend of the director.
Yeah.
And he invited him down to the set, and I met him first on the set of this commercial. And I'm like, no, you didn't. You were like a nobody extra in a Dianetics infomercial, which we haven't said this yet, but the thing was shit canned, never saw the light of day. It was never used.
Yeah.
And
David Miscavige never wanted Grant to be the guy. And so he made sure the thing just never saw the light of day. And
yeah,
no one's ever seen this thing.
yeah. Well, it's funny though, Mark, because pretty much all of the shots we did in the whole thing that Grant wasn't in, all the little dramatic vignettes and stuff, they got used in other properties.
Oh yeah, no. Every single scrap of that
Except
project
for Grant got repurposed.
was multi-purposed and repurposed many times over
Yeah.
in other things.
Yeah,
there might even be
some-
stuff on Scientology's channel today that has
Yeah.
some of these shots we shot.
Or, yeah, in Dianetics, because like if the script said arguing couple, we just pulled a shot out with Elena and this guy, and
Yep.
there it is. They own it. It's their stock shot.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty crazy. And then Grant ends up becoming this one of Miscavige's just biggest, like, brown nose, kiss ass,
Oh yeah.
donate money.
And I remember one time when Grant, Dave Miscavige went to Florida, to Clearwater, which is where they have this big facility called the Flag Land Base.
Right.
And he was in a dining room, or he passed by Grant somewhere. And when he got back to the base, he goes, that Grant, this was right after he had approved him to be in the documentary, and we shot a bunch of stuff. And he goes, I saw Grant, and he didn't even give me the time of day. Like, he didn't look up. I kind of like made myself known to him. He didn't do anything. He didn't smile at me. He was just like, yeah, what's up, man? And like, didn't give me the time of day. And he goes, you find out what that guy's got going on.
That's two narcissists, and running into each other.
Yes.
Two, like, total narcissists.
Because you find out what that guy's got going on. He's got crimes. Why would he not? And then somebody called up Grant and was like, dude, what the hell? You gotta, you can't be involved and work with us and do all this stuff and then not even, get up at the table when Dave walks by. And he's like, I was in Louisiana for the past 2 weeks. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, Grant has a twin brother named Gary Cardone who also is in Scientology, and he was doing something there. Dave didn't know he had a twin brother. So we had to sort of, in some kind of weird way, say, that dude that you were with, he doesn't know who you are. He doesn't know anything about you. He's a new Scientologist named Gary Cardone, which is Grant's twin brother.
Right.
But yeah, it is kind of.
And they used to look very identical back then. They've no longer.
Well, I mean, I don't think Gary has a good, whatever steroid source that Grant has is not as good as whatever one.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They're both taking different kind of stuff. But yeah, that's There's a question here. I just
Yeah.
happened to notice the one,
Okay.
it's pretty recent. Somebody has this question about the scripts.
Oh yeah, I saw that too. So
Put that
it
up.
said, "Is Miscavige making all this stuff?" No. So OMG, so like Valley Girl said, "Question: I am curious how the scripts for these productions were created. Was that all Miscavige? Was it RTC? Who masterminded the propaganda aspect of it?"
Well, I'm sorry to tell you, but that was me. And I'm holding myself personally accountable to the world for having done that. No, but I wrote pretty much everything the church put out on Dianetics from the 80s until, in terms of advertising. So, but I had a writing partner. I'm not going to mention that person's name. They're not around anymore, but
Like they're not physically around anymore.
yeah, they're not physically around.
Yeah.
They don't work for Gold anymore. They got the hell out of there. They hated it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're not in Scientology anymore, but they do have family connections, which could really create problems for them. So I'm not going to go into it. But we worked together for years, this person and I, and we like wrote all these scripts, and then they would all get approved,
Yeah.
directly
That,
by Miscavige. So, but
yeah.
that's
That's for the videos. That's for the videos and the
yeah,
propaganda and Dianetics. Those films, the film we talked about earlier, though all of the films, the technical training films,
yeah.
those were all written by L. Ron Hubbard himself.
Right. The scripts, and then the stuff like the documentals and da 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 da. I wrote all of those, and then we had more other people come in. It was all micromanaged by David Miscavige,
Yeah.
and he would do speech writing. Pretty much all the writing that he did was he would do speech writing, but I don't know to what degree, because I think he take somebody else's speech.
I was just going to say,
This
the bones of it would get laid down by somebody else. Then he'd tell that person they're the most incompetent bub that ever rolled the planet, and then he'd just kind of punch up what they wrote.
Or else he'd give it to somebody else, and they would write it and make it perfect. Then he'd go back to the first person and say, "I did it," and then the second person who wrote it would shut up because they didn't want to get in trouble.
Yeah. I tell you, if anybody, there are videos that you can watch where Miscavige is doing this, and they have a video like that. I think one of those ads that when they had launched Scientology TV, and Direct TV, there's a whole kind of introduction that he does. That's how he talks at every single event, where he kind of has these circular references and just drones on and on. There's lots of flowery prose in there, but he's not really telling you anything.
It's word salad. It's total word salad. But he sometimes he says these things that there's a very good example. I'll figure out how to record stuff off the channel. I haven't figured it out yet. Yeah. Somebody helped me. I thought I could do an OBS, and I hadn't figured it out yet. But that's only a couple minutes. We could do a reaction video to that. But he says these things like he thinks are really going to have the right effect on people. Like he says, well, I'm sure you've heard a lot about Scientology, but until you've heard it from us, you don't know what it is. And people are like, their heads explode. Like, why the fuck would we want to hear it from you? We know you're a bunch of lying sack, but he thinks,
like you're going to tell me the truth now.
But he literally went, on this huge opening, and his big statement was, well, I can assure you, that's one of his favorite terms. Yes. I can assure you that if you haven't heard it from us, you have no idea.
Yeah, you haven't heard anything.
So it's full of these kind of ridiculous things. So
yeah.
Anyway,
do we want to show that little montage?
Yeah, we have a video that we dug at. We unearthed from the Scientology. Well,
you want to set it up?
Yeah, I mean, okay. So there's a video called Inside Golden Era Productions, which I helped to produce in 2014. I did a reaction video to it, which is one of the first videos I did. It's on my channel. Mark's going to tell you. She's going to show you where to go on my channel right now. God,
sure, I can do that.
I know you can.
Look at that. Look at that.
Yeah. There you go.
See, go to Mitch's channel. If you guys are watching on the Blown for Good channel, check out Mitch's channel. And if you can't remember, Mitch did mention this the other day. It's just bitch with an M. So Mitch's channel is called @Scientology The Big Lie.
And my handle on Twitter is bitch with an M.
No, it isn't.
Absolutely.
Oh, I love that.
I don't take that shit seriously. Twitter is like whatever. So,
nice.
But anyway, so in that video, there's a very quick montage from number of the films that Mark and I worked on, and including maybe 6 frames of the devil. They love quick cuts, and they wanted to quick cut this because they obviously don't want to expose too much of the stuff. Per policy from L. Ron Hubbard, this is a massive security breach that they even took 1 frame of any of these films and put it outside the context that it's supposed to be seen in. The fact
but
that
to be fair, it's all vanilla. Everything they show it just doesn't really tell you.
No, it doesn't. But at least it's not
okay.
Like
I'm gonna see if I
can. Yeah,
can,
just run it and then. But you might want to go back and then freeze.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, let me.
Okay.
Well, here it's going. So
yeah, just let it run and then we can go back. So this is a quick montage from various different films. This is a black and white film we shot. This is the thing we did in Africa.
I'm going to freeze it. We'll go back.
Okay,
so that's the end. That's the devil. So here, let me just freeze it. We'll just tell you what each one is because this is a treat.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wow. They were really quick.
It's really quick. You can maybe roll that one back and forth. I should have made these into loops.
Yeah, I can't, but that's okay. So this is this battlefield scene that we shot.
Right. Massive battlefield. This was just a teeny little bit of it. We had 100 guys out there. This is the scene where you got charged for the 2 cows that died.
I did. This is
where explosions.
Yeah, that's right. That was for TR-1, right?
Right. TRs In Life.
TRs In Life. Okay, I'm going to try and start and stop this again here. Okay, so that's a bomb. Okay, now this. Do you remember which one this was for?
Yeah, this is for TR-1. This guy, I think we had to run in with a fire extinguisher and put him out. You know, a lot of these explosions, they pack them with cork, so the stuff you see blowing up is very inert and won't hurt anybody. And one of these guys, his entire pants leg was stuffed with hot cork.
Yes,
so it was a little. It was
bit Justin Miscavige.
Oh, Justin was out there.
Justin Miscavige is the one who got cork blown off his backside.
Oh, right.
I'm pretty sure he was the one who had a cork. I don't want to call it He just got a lot of cork up his backside. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, he got a, what would you call that? That's like a...
cork. I was going to say it, but I'm not. But do you see the leopard on the screen right now?
The what?
Leopard.
Oh. No.
What's on your screen?
I'm seeing, there it is.
Okay. I was like, never mind the cork. I'm looking at a leopard and you're talking about something completely different.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, the leopard, there's a thing in the Dianetics book, which is a piece of very faulty mental health advice called the Black Panther Mechanism.
Yes.
And basically it says there's 7 ways to deal with the problem. And in reality, all 7 of the ways on the Dianetics book are all one way, said several different ways. They're all, like you can bypass it, you can pretend it isn't there, you can go around it, or you can just succumb to it and let it eat you quietly. But all of these are, in terms of real psychological science, they're all the same thing. They're all one thing, because he doesn't want to tell you the other things that you should do.
Yes.
You know, like just pick up a phone and call 911 and say that there's a But anyway.
Okay,
we did. This was one of the only 2 actual Black Panthers. This one and his sister, and I don't know which was which, who actually in North America, they both passed away. They were owned by this crazy lady, this very eccentric woman who owned these Hollywood animals, and she came in dressed in literally a leopard coat and a leopard hat.
It's a Carol Baskin of the film industry.
Yeah, with these 2 real Black Panthers, beautiful animals, so I must say.
Okay, that's that. Oh, this is
that was Isaac Hayes.
I know. I wish I could. Okay, so that's the angel in TR-14.
Yeah, this is one of the real fire effects because we didn't fake anything.
Okay. That is in this film that we did with Isaac Hayes called TR-5 YTRs.
Yeah.
And this is like a space platform. And this thing that's opening up is like a portal. It's sort of like a hidden camera that goes to anywhere in the universe.
Yeah, it's like a telescopic device that allows you to see also not just a different part of the universe, but in a different time. Like,
in the past.
The images that it's showing you can be from any time you want.
Yeah.
And
I think, what do we call it? We just called it the lens.
Yeah, I think the space lens or something.
Space lens, yeah. Okay,
if anybody's wondering, my inspiration for that device was from the 1930-something film called Things to Come, which is one of the greatest science fiction films ever made. It's based on an H.G. Wells story. And, we've been doing these film references, right?
Yeah.
So the one from today so far is Things to Come, starring Raymond Massey. I highly recommend it. If you're interested in film history or the history of science fiction films and history, that was one of the first great science fiction films ever made. So there you go.
Okay, now do you have the auditor's code up on yours now?
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
auditor's code.
So in this film, there's a thing in Scientology called the auditor's code, and it has all these sort of things that the auditor has to agree to.
Yeah, like don't commit SA with your plea clearers. That's one of them.
Yeah,
It doesn't say
actually
it like that.
But yeah, it is actually one of them. But each
Yeah.
one of those points, we shot like a little vignette, would you call it, for each one of those little things? Or a little scene?
Yeah. The film consists of is an illustration of every point on here.
Yeah.
That's essentially what the film is. Now, in the script, it said on the wall, there was a number of scenes that took place in auditing rooms. And in the script, it said, Hubbard described the code was printed and on the wall. This didn't exist. There was no printed auditor's code. And so this was a big frustration for me because I insisted that every aspect of these films be as beautiful as possible. So then, because the motif of the film was supposed to be religious and, it was like the religia, I don't remember what the name motif was, but yeah. I thought, let's do what is called an illuminated manuscript. Let's do an illuminated version. And we auditioned a bunch of guys and we found a really good artist to do this. And then we put this on the wall. And and this is how one aspect of why these films are so significant in Scientology, everything done in the film was then copied in every church around the world. So then this auditor code
is the one everyone has now.
Yeah, it's the one that then was printed and sent out to be in every auditing room in the world. And of course, people think we had it in the film because it already existed. Yeah. But it was literally made as a prop in the film. And that's not the first time that kind of stuff happened. But yeah. Anyway, it's actually a nice piece of art if you're not looking at the thing. It's like, I promise to not let my pre-clear ever receive any mental health treatment other than things like that.
Yeah. In the code, you're not allowed. Sorry, in the code, you're not allowed to let somebody that you're counseling get counseling from a psychologist or a psychiatrist. That's one of the codes that you can't allow that to ever happen.
And also, Mark, I just realized that one of the points is that it says you'll never allow the pre-clear to end the session on their own determinism. Yeah. And so as a reason, that means that you are actually
the session.
Yeah, but you're trained to physically stop them. Yep. There are drills that you do to physically stop them. So there's this absolute violation of a person's human rights that you can't say, you know what, I'm not comfortable with this, I'm leaving. You will be physically stopped and kept in that room. And if you manage to overpower the auditor, because maybe they're, a
smaller physically
person,
or whatever,
that person will probably be either, if they're in the Sea Org, they're going to be sent to the RPF. If they're public, they're going to be stripped of all their training certificates and they'll be made to do all their training over again. So even though these things are said really nicely, like I'm never allow the session to end on the person's determinism, in reality, they're civil rights violations.
Yeah.
This is from
This is Start, Change, Stop.
Oh yeah, this is two girls having an argument. Well, they're about. Oh yeah.
Isn't this in the garage after she just crashed?
No.
Look, the garage is broken in the background.
Behind her is a ladder, and there's the shrubbery in the background. And she's just turning to her husband and going, "Hey, look what I did." Anyway, that's the girl who was driving the car through the Ms.
Yeah. Okay, and then that's
that's from
Cycle of Communication. TR-2?
Yeah. And these two girls we shot this at the Kimberly mansion, the tissue paper people. Kimberly Clark, Kleenex.
Yeah.
Their old mansion is in Redlands. It's a beautiful place. And we shot this on the grounds of the mansion. Because it's Victorian, I kind of thought, let's just put the actors in Victorian garb, or this sort of industrial, whatever. And they were having an argument. And then this film had Hubbard had recorded a bunch of voiceovers, which we used in some of these films. So some of
Yeah.
these films are actually his voice, and his voice
Interacting with the talent.
Yeah, because they were sitting there backing up. They were just having an argument, and they whipped their heads towards camera. That's because he says, "Now, girls,
Let's not argue," or something
let's
like
not
that.
argue." And then they're like looking at above camera, like he's standing there.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's Darius Wilhare.
Yeah, yeah.
We just talked about him in the last stream. So if you guys were watching with Andrew Gold, I'll put a link in the description to that. But
I saw that, by the way. It was
oh, you
really,
did?
Well, I skipped past the whole first part because I've heard that 1,000 times. But I've never heard you guys together telling it together.
Right. Yes.
And I tell you, I'm just telling our audience, it's really worth watching the two of them together telling the story, because you usually hear one of them or the other one. And
yeah,
the other
that's
one,
true. Was this for the auditor's code?
This was, yes. And this was this. Yeah. The message of this is that all great professions have had codes, like from the knights to the blah, 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 blah. So we did. And when earlier I was mentioning vignettes, like this would be a vignette, a really short little shot, and then we're done.
Yep.
So yeah, we might spend hours dressing this. Oh yeah, this was TRs In Life. This was the black and white film we made.
Yeah, so that was a picture, and that was two sailors walking down a dock, and
one of them was Bodie
Elfman and David O'Donnell.
And David O'Donnell, right.
And we had to. I think David's the one we had to throw in the drink, right? It wasn't. But neither one of them went in. We threw a crew member in.
Bodie could have handled it.
No, I think we dressed a crew member up in one of their outfits.
Oh yeah, we doubled
and then threw them in because it was San Pedro Harbor.
Yeah, that's right.
And the most fun thing about that one, and we'll tell it more when we do this film, when we cover this film, but we shot where they shot Usual Suspects. There's a boat
right next to that boat, whatever it was called.
It was called the Tanager.
Yeah, Tanager, that's right.
The Tanager.
God, your memory. I got to stop a second and just say, Marc Headley has the most amazing memory of anybody.
It is kind of bizarre that I know the boat that we shot a film next to, but that same boat was in Usual Suspects. That's the boat that Kaiser Soze came in on.
Yeah.
And they had the whole big shootout and everybody gets killed. And the whole thing is that in the Usual Suspects, it's the same ship. And we had to shoot on this dock, and it was night. There's all kinds of stories. But this one is an inventor, and it's played by the inventor was played by Tate Rupert.
Yeah, who played Gringy in the film we were talking about tonight.
Just played Gringy in that other film. And and he is like, the guy comes in and is like, how's this thing work? Show me how it works. And then he turns it on and it blows up.
Yeah, it was like a cold fusion machine, or it didn't matter. It was just it was an invention.
Yeah, and didn't we shoot this one in Norton? We shot it in the part of Norton that we didn't have access to.
No, it's full of old power panels and all kinds of crazy shit.
It was basically the lab that the processing lab that fed all of their development lines and everything.
Yeah,
so it was like this basement that had chemicals and pipes and just all this stuff everywhere.
And we just blew the crap out of it. I mean, look, we blew this thing up. Nobody cared. Yeah. Anyway.
So there was the shot of the car driving. That was
Ms. Yeah. At the end.
That was Ms. This was
back up. Which car was that? Was that?
I can't back up. It was a Cobra.
Okay. Then that was the second time we did it. First time we did it was a Corvette. Cobra was a definite upgrade. I'm sure people will agree with me.
Yes. So. My dad was a big Shelby Cobra fan, so I know about Cobras.
Yeah.
But I do have relatives that are into Corvettes, so I know about both. This was angry. Like, this guy, the reporter came in and was like, "Oh, I didn't get the story," and then this guy was yelling at him or something.
Yeah, he's talking to Alan Barton.
Yes, Alan Barton was the reporter in TR1. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're gonna have to remake that one. They never got around to it. It's too bad.
Okay, this is EM5. How to set up a session in the E-meter.
Right.
And this
is in a fictional African country. It's actually a couple hundred yards from the Gold Studio. We use some very extensive matte painting, visual effects to get rid of the road and the castle. And we did this from a helicopter. What's happening here is L. Ron Hubbard himself is going to land in this African village because there's a special auditing mission going on in the village, and the king's son somebody's given him a really bad session. Kind of like the film we're talking about tonight. There's
I'm
always
telling
a guy,
you, almost all these films, they are the result of somebody getting a bad Scientology, something
yeah,
going wrong inside Scientology,
yeah,
and either the family or the person themselves complaining or almost
yeah.
dying. And then these films are like, why did that happen? And then
Yeah,
they
in
fix
this
it.
one, the mission was going to be kicked out. It's a fictional story. It's a fictional nation. The name of it was something Arafiki.
Yeah, Arafiki.
Yeah, Arafiki. It was a totally made up thing, and the script had a lot of very racist references in it, which
Super,
I
super.
had to scratch. I had to get them all taken out of there, even though it's a Hubbard script. But
Mm.
I got permission to take all the racist references. They were like mildly racist. Like he referred to some of the characters, the children, as pickaninnies and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Just
there
to
was
let
other
you know.
things in
But
there.
yeah, there was some very
It was just,
stereotypical.
and
Well,
that
just
was
the
what.
fact.
Yeah, and this was written in this like 70s or 80s. So
Yeah,
there were things that were even still a little, you
yeah,
would
but that
never
was
say that were
yeah, that
still
was
in
right
there.
in the middle of the Black Power movement. I mean, he should have known better. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that was just really not okay. The whole, which I didn't realize at the time, but the whole idea of setting a film in a predominantly Native African nation. I mean, look at they're living in huts and stuff,
Yeah.
and then having L. Ron Hubbard show up as like a white savior
Yeah. Well, they
was just
said, what are we going to do? And the messenger says, sir, they want you to go to Africa he needs to go there and sort it out
right,
himself.
and yeah, and be the big white savior and show up. And if you look, I think, okay, if you look off to the larger building on the right, that was referred to as Ron's auditing hut, right?
Hmm.
And that was the one. This is the second time we shot it, but that was the one practical location, meaning we shot inside and outside, and then everything else we shot in the studio, and we just put backdrops that
Yeah.
match this on the outside. So if it was raining, we'd have a place to shoot. But I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
This
he
is
was
when
never.
they come. This is when
Yeah,
his chopper lands. They say, welcome to Africa, sir.
yeah. These guys are all staff members.
Yeah, Ron Somerville's the one in the front, and then Tony Pinder is the one
Right.
right to his side, and then the guy in back, that was Chris
Chris.
Olander.
Yeah.
Okay.
These were like the 2-second shots we could use the base. They'd run up, say something, and we'd never
Yeah.
see them again.
Yeah. Welcome to Africa, sir. And then I think it's the devil. That was the devil. Oh, sorry. That's with Isaac.
Yeah.
That's that lens he's looking in, and we're going to pop in on Earth and see something like that.
Yeah, it's like a transitional device. He's basically telling the story. Well, we should maybe mention this, even though we'll get into it when we do the film. But this is a story about a 15-year-old kid who finds himself on a planet in a further lifetime where there's no Scientology, and he has to start Scientology. So the message of this film is, you better learn your Scientology now, because next lifetime you might end up on a planet where there's no Scientology, and you're going to need it. And the first time we shot this film twice. The first time we shot it with Johnny Lewis playing the kid, who was a very talented actor, but you might remember him from Sons of Anarchy, but then he went completely psychotic.
He unalived himself and his landlord, and then,
her two cats.
Yeah, and two cats. And
yeah,
so
it was
then
really, really
the
tragic.
entire film is these scenes with Isaac and him. He's in every single shot in the movie, pretty much training people on how to become Scientologists in another planet. And he's also not speaking English. He's speaking another language from another
he's speaking
planet.
an alien language, which I actually supervised the creation of that alien language.
Didn't you guys do like the star? There was sort of like people had to look. But people had to learn this language. The costumes and makeup people knew how to speak in this language. It was really weird.
Yeah. But to make it easy, I don't have the. Okay.
It was Star Trek. It was based on a Star Trek.
No, it actually wasn't. No.
What do you mean? On how to create the language?
No, it was based on a video game. I can't remember the name of it. A video game that takes place in a sort of a Tolkien-esque kind of land, and they had a language that was based on Hebrew, and the writing and the language was based on Hebrew. And I got a hold of that book, and I read it, and then I studied how they created the language. To make it easy, we created like these modular blocks of sounds, of different sounds. And so the actors, all they had to do was learn these modular blocks of sounds, and then they could extemporaneous those. They could just use those blocks and string them together. It was really clever. I spent a lot of time on it. Wasted time, but
Yeah, I
you know,
remember this. I remember when somebody
it was a
explained it
big
all to
deal.
me and they could talk in it. I was like, you guys have way more time on your hands than I do. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
well, no, because the original script, you didn't hear them. You know, Hubbard said
Yeah.
they're talking in an alien language, but you can't hear it. And I was kind of like, I don't like that. I want to hear them going, you know, what was it when they did the touch assist? Remember?
Yeah.
And he'd say over and over again. And there was one thing, I don't remember what it was, but everybody was saying that because it
Yeah.
was repetitive. It was like, feel my finger in some alien. Anyway, I
I'm
have
just trying to
pictures
see
from
if
the
there was any other.
reshoot, Mark.
There's
And
the devil.
I didn't know we were going to
keep
talk about this because I have pictures from the reshoot. So when we talk about that film, I do have some photos.
Nice. Yeah. We'll try to show as many things as we have. And we actually, you know, I found, this is a crazy thing. There is a picture with your son on my shoulders.
Yeah, so you said when we
like were shooting something. Well, somebody sent me a picture with your son on my shoulders, and it's not the one I was talking about. Really? It's from another shoot at another time. I think it's when we were shooting, when you used to live at that house in Tarzana off Ventura.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was from there. I can't remember. But either way, we're going to get both of those pictures together, and we'll show them in a future live.
Okay, good. I don't understand. Put up this comment from Tessie Devil. She says at me. She says, it's from 432.
Mitch is so ADHD and OCD, attention to detail.
Yeah, but how come Mark just gets labeled with a good memory and I get labeled ADHD and OCD?
Well, you're the one doing all the, I don't know, people aren't labeling me. You're the one that said I had a good memory.
Yeah, that's true. That's, fair enough. Fair enough. That's a fair question. And I think Tassie, who, by the way, hi, it's great that you're here. You're a friend.
Thank you, Tassie.
I want people to know that. I think she's talking about that my attention to detail, like about the language that I insisted.
Oh, yeah. No, I zoned out.
That.
When you were talking about that, I was like, oh, here we go.
But Tassie, that's not OCD. That's what film directors do.
Yeah, you got to think about all these things because somebody is going to think about that and say, why did they do that?
Okay, no, hold on.
What? Yeah.
I got to take Denver Steve-O to task for this.
Tarks me as a Tarzana boy.
Yeah, there's a reason why Denver Steve-O has that icon. He said, Mitch strikes me as a Tarzana boy. I lived in Tarzana for 2 years.
Yeah.
I hate the effing valley.
Yeah. Also, to be fair, Mitch is he
I was never a Tarzana.
He had the looks of Tarzan, but the skills of Jane. Okay.
There you go.
Anyway.
And a little bit of the chimpanzee throw.
Yeah.
Okay. But thank you, Denver Steve. Thanks for being here.
Yes, thank you, Denver Steve. I'm actually going to show. We had some super chats come in. Joni says, so it's not me who thinks Grant is 10x crazy because Grant looks and sounds crazy, just like Danny Yuck Masterson.
Oh, he's worse than you. That doesn't even begin.
The Grant stories. We should figure out. There's other Grant stories, but that we'll save those for another day. Bo Beats. Hey, Bo Beats. I haven't seen you in a while just because I'm not paying attention. If you've been in here, I'm sorry I missed you. My favorite M&Ms are Marc and Mitch. Marc, where can I send a pic of me and my Xenu as my homeboy / BFG hoodie? Oh my God, I love that. Go to the Blown for Good site. There's actually a place where you can send us, I want to say it's in the contact us page. I think you can send pictures in there now and send us stuff. And if I'm not, then just send it to Claire at blownforgood.com.
Yeah, we call that a portal. There's a special portal.
I think there is. I think there really is a special portal.
Intradimensional portal. On the site where you can slip your stuff into that portal and it goes to Marc.
I'm going to do some housekeeping here. We did show this earlier, but check out Mitch's channel. If you're watching on the Blown for Good channel, please check out Mitch's channel. We're trying to do this sort of channel incubator where the channels that are maybe a little bit bigger have on the channels that are smaller, and then we try to share viewers and subscribers and likes and all that thing.
Yeah, so and then I'll pay it forward.
Yeah, well, go over to Mitch's channel and like and subscribe over there. Yeah. Do you still have that Indiegogo going? We'll put that up.
Yeah, it's going to be up there, I think, till the end of October.
Okay, good. Trying to do production, book production.
To get it out quickly, and so I can print a bunch of copies and have them here to send out to special people and all that kind of stuff. Because there's a strike going on, and so it's like,
is it almost over though?
Yeah, hopefully, but I'm still polishing my resume.
Okay. Zeno is my homeboy, and tons of other amazing BFG merch can be gotten at the Blown for Good store. And the link to that is in the description.
Right.
And there should be, if you're watching this on YouTube, the store might even just be right there. You can just click on stuff.
Right.
And if you want to get a copy of my book, Blown for Good, Behind the Iron Curtain of Scientology, that details my growing up in Scientology and working at the international headquarters of Scientology for 15 years, you can get that at blownforgood.com, or you can get it from the merch store. If you get it from the merch store, we actually send you a little video thank you. So
that's nice.
You can get it. It's like a little cameo, little thanks
is it like,
for ordering.
Is it personalized to the person?
It 100% is.
Oh wow! I'm gonna buy a book. I want that.
And then
I'm gonna make it my new screensaver on my Apple Watch that I don't have.
Oh boy. With that, I think that wraps us up for today. We will do another film. I don't know if we'll be able to do it this week. It depends on our schedules. We might be able to do this one midweek. We skipped. We were doing 2 of these a week, and we only did 1 this week because I had other commitments. But
Right.
we'll try to do that one midweek if we can work it out. Hopefully, I don't have a conflicting schedule this week. But
Right.
But thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for joining me today, Mitch.
Yeah, and oh, it's always my pleasure, Mark. And if anybody has questions about any of it, please, we'll answer questions moving forward. If something came up in this last, in this current episode, if you have some question about it,
yeah, just put question and then put it, and usually we'll get that started.
Or send me an email or send Mark an email, and we'll do them.
Before we end, I did want to say one thing. I was watching a video with you and Aaron earlier in the week where you guys were going kind of toe to toe on if anyone would be able to take over by the time with Dave came out. And I don't know. I can't. I think somebody else talked to Aaron after you guys did that video.
Yeah, and then we did another one.
And then I just came in on a video that you guys did. I think it was yesterday or the day before. And he had completely done a 180.
180.
And 100% came to your side.
Right.
But in the first video, I was in the chat of that video live, and I was saying, Mitch is right. This is what is going to happen. I don't know why Aaron, because Aaron was never at the international headquarters. He was in LA.
No, he's Aaron.
So he looks through it. He's looking through it through a different lens. And totally because we were there, we know there can never, ever be a successor to what Dave has set up because he silos everything. But it was funny to see him be anybody.
He literally beat me down. I could not even continue with my side.
It was amazing. Argument. And I was trying to be there for you. And he wouldn't put up any of the comments. He was putting up my comments frequently, but none of the ones where I said you were 100% right. He wasn't putting those up.
Yeah, nothing against Aaron because he completely came around.
He really did. But he not only came around, but the whole second video was just reaffirming what you had said, but just in a different
well, there was one part of it. There was one part of it that whoever he spoke with, there was one part of it that whoever we spoke with made an incredibly insightful observation. Like I had talked about, Miscavige blew the base and he moved the center of power to LA and blah, blah, blah. But this guy really described as management is now these guys that run SMP, the Descent Center, Bridge, what is called R-Comps, which is where they do all the compilations of, where they alter all of the books so that they can sell them again, basically. Yeah. So, and he was saying, this person was telling Aaron, but they're like Dave's homies, like the people hanging out with.
Yes.
That's the one thing that I could
like he has a whole new set of people that are but they're not only loyal to him, they don't know anyone else. So even if one of those guys came, they'd be like, who are you? Like, I'm blah, blah, blah. I'd be like, I've never heard of you. Dave never talked about you. You don't exist.
No,
and
totally.
That was the thing that made it go, oh, I get it. Yeah, no, he's never no one could ever take over. And I was like, that's what we've been saying.
But he's not, they're not homies. He doesn't have these people. I'm going to talk to him more about this. But
oh my God. You guys played a video of this girl named Molly.
Yeah.
And
Molly
I told Claire and she goes, oh, Molly. And I was like, yeah, Molly. Wasn't she in CMO Pack?
Yeah.
And Claire goes, yeah, she used to be in CMO Pack. Dave would call her a fat pig on a regular. Oh, you got to get that fat pig down in LA to get this up to us.
I was in meetings I told Aaron, I was in a meeting at S&P. She was running S&P. And he was pissed off at her, and all he did was tease her about her weight
Yeah.
about being from Mississippi, about being dumb. Molly she's big, she's a very pretty girl, and I always interact. I have no problem with her, and she's
Mm-hmm.
very smart, and she's
Yeah.
completely lost in the narcissistic push and pull of
Yeah.
this guy of like, oh my God, is he my friend? Does he hate me?
But
Anyway,
that's the craziest thing is that all of these people that are his
yeah,
loyal soldiers, he
right.
talks mad shit about them
Yeah,
behind their
well,
back,
that's
and
one.
they're oblivious. My mom is one of those people. My own mother, she is one of the most loyal David Miscavige soldiers out in the world of Scientology. And David Miscavige didn't know that she was my mom when he was talking about her, and he was like, "There's this dumb blonde bitch down in Florida who's so stupid that she shouldn't be on the RPF. She's so stupid, I left her there on the RPF because she doesn't deserve to not be on the RPF because she's that stupid." And my mom, he's telling this story, and I don't know that it's my mom either. And then after the meeting, I go ask Jenny Linson and Angie Blankenship. I said, "You guys were there. Who was he talking about?" They were like, "Oh, he's one of the RPFers." I go, No. Come on. Which RPFer was he talking about? I go, "It was my mom, wasn't it?" And they go, "Yeah, it was." And I go, "Do you think that he doesn't know that she's my mom because she has a different name? Or does he, because he would play this game. He'd talk about a relative of somebody and throw mad shade at him and then be like, 'Oh, I didn't know you were related to that person.'" But my mom, if I could just talk, I can't talk to my mom because I'm an SP and she's a Scientologist, but she is literally every second person she meets, she's talking about how David Miscavige is the best person to take over Scientology and he's doing LRH's work. And I'm like, if you only knew how he talked about you, you might have a different take on that.
Yeah, that's why the one thing about that whole talk,
the Molly.
But the one thing
or just the whole setup.
Yeah, the whole setup where this person who gave Aaron finally convinced Aaron that I was right.
Yeah.
This thing about them being his homies.
Yeah.
No, they're not his homies. Like Molly Hertling is not his homie. He doesn't hang out with these guys. The only way you can understand this is like I said, okay, it's like the mafia. He's the capo de capo, and they're the capos. And the capo will take good care of his people, but he might just as soon shoot him in the back of the head.
Well, yeah, if they betray him, then he's going to send the other capos to take him out.
Yeah, or if you think of it like an oligarchy, like Miscavige is Putin.
Yeah.
And there's an oligarch over Bridge. There's an oligarch over S&P. There's an oligarch over the Descent Center and the compilations place. Each one of them has an oligarch. And so that's their rich little territory. But boy, do they live in fear that they're gonna be given a radioactive tipped, umbrella. And they're going to be, so he's not hanging out with these guys. He's hanging out with Lou and Tom Cruise.
Yeah, but
that's
but when you don't work at the international headquarters, or you don't work at S&P, you don't work with Dave,
right?
And see this over a decades or multiple year, like you and I was only there for 15 years. You were there for a little bit longer, but you saw people come and go.
Oh yeah.
And you saw the whole thing happening and unfolding. Right. So you knew there's no Molly that lasts for more than 10 years. There's always a new Molly that comes around. And when Molly is the Molly, she talks mad respect for Dave until she's not the person anymore, and then she's in a cave somewhere locked up, and then you're just like, we tried to tell you back then and you didn't listen.
Well, I know we got to bring this to an end, but we were talking about Chandra Lawrenson. You knew Chandra.
Yeah, I also sent Aaron a text. It's Chandra like Chappelle, not Chandra like Chucky.
Chandra like
yes.
Yeah, like Chandra.
He kept saying Chandra. I was like, it's not Chaka from Land of the Lost. She's not Chaka. She's Chandra.
Why do you come up with that shit? Anyway, no, Chandra, who we knew really well because she was the head of Mad Hatter, and we had to coordinate with them because we use that studio a lot for recording.
Yeah.
So she's like general manager at S&P, which is like a big deal, but she ain't Dave's homie at all.
No.
But then I got a message from Catherine Olson, who'd been there. She left after I did.
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, by the way, you might be interested to know that Chandra was sent off on a program Molly took in, and then Chandra came back from her handling, and then
Yeah.
Molly went off somewhere. So it's this constant thing of like, you're in trouble, you're being handled.
Yeah.
They're not his homies.
No. And there's always another one in the waiting. So whenever that person burns out, he's like, this guy's not my, Tom DeVock's not my favorite anymore. Now Henning's my favorite. Oh, Henning's not my favorite anymore. Now Russ Bellin is my favorite. Now Russ Bellin's not my favorite. And now it's Molly. So it just,
the weirdest one of all is Dave Bloomberg. That's the hardest one to understand.
Right.
He was coming in and out of S&P. Like he would, he'd be like trying to give me orders at S&P, and then I'd be up at Gold a few weeks later shooting something, and he'd be doing sets.
Yeah. Or he'd be, literally.
Well, literally, I'm not even joking. And then a few weeks later, I'd be back at S&P, and then all of a sudden Dave would show up in an expensive suit giving orders again. So
and you're like, dude, you were cleaning out Jesus paint buckets
exactly.
2 weeks ago. Anybody who doesn't know what a Jesus paint bucket is, it's when you open it and you go, oh, Jesus. Usually rotten paint that we would get for free from a donation center. Anyway, with that, we are going to end today's video.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you
if
very
anybody's
much.
Hold on, but if anybody's interested in doing a tour of S&P sometime, we could do that. Would be a fun thing to do.
Oh, that's a great idea. I've never been there. Do you have pictures?
Well, there is a whole online thing. I just
perfect. Then we'll just walk through and we'll go.
we could walk through.
Okay, I'm going to write that down. That's a great idea. But we got to finish these films first.
Yeah, okay,
Let's finish the films first, and then
which means we have to end this one.
That's right. I got to get out of here. I've had to go to the bathroom for an hour and 44 minutes. Just so those of you are watching, we're an hour 45 into this video.
We don't need to know that, Mark.
I have to tell you because I gotta go. We gotta
go.
End this.
Mark's got to go. I gotta go.
No, I'm just messing with you guys. Thank you. Thanks for watching to the very end, and we will see you guys in the next one.
Yeah, take care.